Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Hello and welcome to My Hometown. I'm Bill Horan, and today our guest is James LaMantia, Chairman of the Gift of Life of Long Island and Secretary for Gift of Life International, as well as the owner and founder of the LaMantia Gallery in Northport. James, welcome to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Bill.
James, tell us about this gallery now. What is it? We know it's in Northport, but fill us in on what is the LaMantia Gallery.
Great, thank you. LaMantia Gallery is now finishing up its 31st year in Northport Village. Believe it or not, I started this gallery when I was 26 years old. I was living in Manhattan and sort of looking for a place to open a gallery. And I started looking in Manhattan, kept moving east, discovered Northport Village and fell in love with it. And I've been here for 31 years now. And the gallery itself represents internationally known artists. So my focus is on artists that are represented around the world and in specifically the top destination spots in the United States. So living artists collected throughout the states, and it's probably about a 4,000 square foot gallery, and it's actually phenomenal. I run the gamut from traditional work to contemporary right up into pop.
What made Northport your target rather than Huntington, Garden City, or Great Neck?
Well, it's funny. It's actually a really great question because I was looking at Huntington, and at the time in 1989, I guess it was when I started looking, there were 4 galleries in Huntington, and one of the owners actually said, "Huntington's saturated. You should really go look at Northport Village. I think you'd like it." And ironically, there were 2 other galleries at the time in Northport, but I fell in love with it. I mean, I like to call it a Norman Rockwell town. It's classic Americana. Literally had a trolley running down Main Street in its heyday, but it's a destination spot, flanked two blocks of businesses with the harbor at the end of it. It's quaint, and it's what I felt and love about it immediately after speaking to people that lived there were that they were art lovers and appreciated art, and I knew that the gallery would work well here.
And I have to tell you, that's a great description because I was just in Northport. I was helping a friend out who had to be taken for some surgery. And that's just the way I pictured that town as I drove through it. I said, this is that nice, you expect to see this in New England someplace. Exactly. And it's that cute town that has everything there. I have the feeling that if you walk down the street, everybody says, "Hi, James." You say, "Hi, Lucy." "Hi, Joe." "Hi, Fred." "How are you?" And you know,
it's a place where everybody knows your name for sure.
Exactly. Now, tell our audience where exactly in Northport by address are you? Or are you under the steeple or next to the McDonald's?
I'm at 127 Main Street. It's smack dab in the middle of town. 127 Main Street.
Right in the middle of everything. So they have to pass you if they're going or coming.
Pretty much. And fortunately, I have, I believe, the largest storefront on Main Street. So we get a lot of visibility when people come down.
Now, this is interesting because we haven't had a gallery owner on before. How did the pandemic affect you, or did it? I mean, this is a different type of business. We know of the food businesses, the schools, etc. But what about a gallery?
Well, great question. It was challenging, of course, but after being in business for 31 years, I was having clients actually phone me and say, "James, I know this is going to be a tough time for you. Find a spot for this, find a painting for this wall, find something for this wall." I had one of my dear friends and clients actually lives in Duluth, Kansas. And I've been blessed to have clients from all over the country and the world, in fact. But he actually phoned me up, one of the first ones to call me, and said, "James, I'm looking for a very patriotic piece. Can you find something to go in this spot?" And I would hear that almost on a daily basis. So the shutdown gave me an opportunity to renovate the gallery. When people came back in, when we opened, they see a new look, a brighter look, an open space. But our collectors, were very grateful in keeping us busy.
Now, James, I'm going to talk for myself as a person who really doesn't know the inside workings of a gallery. Do you go out to artists and say, gee, I understand you did a great picture of a duck. Would you like to have that in my gallery? Or do they come to you and say, I would like to be in there? Or do you pay them? Do they pay you? Or is it just a friendly handshake?
Well, it's at this point, it's more the artists seeking us out, because there are very few galleries in the U.S. that are around 30 years. So when artists find out about a gallery like ours, they want to be with us. So we get some of the top artists doing exhibitions here. And I also have a network, because my model is making sure that, let's say, Bill, you're in Hawaii and you're on vacation, or you're skiing in Aspen, and you go into a gallery, and now you come back home and you say, let me look up that artist that we saw in Aspen. You'll find that artist most likely in my gallery. So I have a network of galleries that we actually work with around the country, so that we help to promote certain artists. And by doing so, it helps the artist to be successful and helps each gallery to be successful. So it's somewhat of a partnership, because at this point in my career, I'm actually discovering artists and sending them to other galleries around the country. So we're not just a retail business. We're a brick and mortar business, same location, 31 years. However, we also have clients who find us from around the world. We've shipped, this year alone, we've shipped to Sweden, to Australia, to England, all over the world. But we also are selling our artists to other galleries. So as I'm speaking to you today, what's really cool, although maybe not this early, there are galleries who could be potentially creating sales for us by selling our artists. So it's become a full circle business where we sort of cover all aspects of our business.
Suppose I walk in and I see a picture, and again, I'm not an artistic person. I don't know anything about the art world, but I just like it. It's a boat in the Northport waters. It's just the perfect day that I like. Everything about it, I say, I want that. Do you quote me a price, and can I buy it right there?
Oh, I encourage you to buy it right there. In fact, what I actually hear often is, and I swear I'll hear this probably every other week, this was a very expensive lunch, because people will come to town, they've heard about the village, they've come for lunch, and then walk out with a $2,000 or $3,000 painting. So yes, the model of my business is, I want you to feel like you're on vacation, Bill. So when you come into the gallery, you are disappearing from all of the trauma that's going on in the world, and all of the nonsense that people have to deal with, and you have a little bit of an escape. And that escape, you're on vacation, you're on a different mindset, you see something you love, and you say, that's going to bring add value to my life and make me happy, and I want to take it home. So yes, you can take a piece right out the gallery.
What part of the business of being a gallery owner, and I mean, you're a very busy guy, as we told our audience, this show is almost two parts, the first about the gallery, but what do you enjoy the most? What part of it is the most fun?
That's a great question. It's actually seeing that artists have an awesome lifestyle. For instance, one thing that makes me nuts, and always has made me nuts as a gallerist and someone in the art field all my life. And I have to tell you a quick anecdote. When I was 9 years old, I told my mother, when I get older, I want to open a gallery. So you talk about living with a purpose. I knew at 9 years old, I want to do what I'm doing. And at 21, after art school, I had exhibitions of my artwork, and was managing a gallery in Manhattan for 5 years until I decided to open my own. But what I enjoyed most is negating the concept that, oh, you're an artist, what are you going to do for a living? So my goal is to see that, and I get great pleasure to knowing that all of the artists that I represent earn a really great living doing what they do, and seeing the happiness that it brings to people, seeing these paintings on their walls and the joy that they get. I mean, when I've had clients fairly often pick up a painting from us and have tears in their eyes, or I actually come out and I'll personally hang the painting for people because I want to make sure it's hung professionally, and seeing them get emotional, to me, that is amazing. So it's two parts. It's one, making sure that artists have an opportunity to earn a great living, and also to see that my clients get great joy from the paintings that they purchase.
James, I have to ask you, because it just hit me and I can see it. When you told your mother you want to open up your own gallery, did she give you a little whack on the side of the head and say, look, quarterbacks make more money, take this football and learn to throw a pass to Freddie down the block?
No, she actually encouraged me from day one.
Was she an artist? Excuse me. Was she an artist?
Nope, she was not. We grew up in the city. She was inspired. I remember seeing my first play at the age of 4, I believe it was. It was Fiddler on the Roof. I could describe it like it was yesterday. I remember coming out of the subway in the snow and seeing the play. I remember her taking me to galleries at a very young age. So no, it was living with a purpose. And part of my goal in life when I do interviews like this is I hear too many adults who say, I missed an opportunity and I wish now maybe later in my life I can go back to doing what I really enjoy doing. I've lived with a purpose my entire life, and I always thank my mother and give her credit for instilling that in me.
Well, I think that's a great attitude and something we could overlap into a lot of our shows. James, I want our audience to know if they're just tuning in, you're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College. I'm Bill Horan. Today I'm talking with James LaMantia, the chairman of Gift of Life Long Island and secretary for Gift of Life International, as well as the owner of the LaMantia Gallery in Northport. Correct?
Perfect.
All right. James, you said something before, and I could just see a problem coming out of it. So I want to ask you, you mentioned about that part of your job is taking works of art and shipping them to other places around the world. Mm-hmm. You've been there 31 years. Did you ever ship something and the other place said, I never got that?
Actually, not once.
No?
Not once, thank God.
Wow. I really thought that would, it's just something, not that it's your fault, but things happen.
I'm hoping that you don't see into the future, Bill. That's all I'm going to say.
Me too. No, I just figured in 31 years, it just, law of averages, something has to happen. It's like, negative things happen.
Not actually, knock wood, not once. I can gladly say.
Did you, what looking back is the most unique piece of art you've had? Did someone walk in with something and you looked and said, oh my gosh, or just really stood out?
I think a funny story I could share with you, because we also do picture framing. My framer is top notch. He's been working with me on and off over 28 years. So it's actually a funny picture framing story because we do wonderful picture framing, but people will often bring in pieces and say, oh my gosh, I only spent $50, $100 on this piece and the framing is $300. I hear that regularly. I hate the fact that I have to spend more on the framing than the piece. I've heard that for 31 years. So one day a gentleman brings in a Marc Chagall original oil painting that he had purchased for $1.2 million. The painting was a 12-inch by 16-inch painting that he spent $1.2 million, I believe it was. The frame cost $350. And it was like the one time, so you asked me what's a unique story, the one time I almost wish that it could be reversed. Like he actually, he got away with saying, wow, only $350 for this, where, normally you would think, all right, that should be several $1,000s, but it's the size affects the price of the framing. So that was the most unique piece. But
I was thinking that one you could have boosted up a little bit. Probably if you said 1% of the price, been good for you and the framer. A good day, right?
But it's a good story I can share.
It really is. And one thing I have to say is it's great to see someone, I personally love seeing someone who enjoys what they do. And it's coming out. As I talk to you, I can see that you truly, just as you said as a child, and I've seen this, I know writers, I know doctors who, when they started out, just as you did, they said from very early in life, this is what I want to be. And when people said, oh, you don't want that. No, this is what, they knew it. They went for it. You did, and I give you a lot of credit, and I think that's wonderful. That's terrific.
I appreciate that. And, and the irony is during COVID being shut down for 3 months, I actually was in the gallery every single day for those 3 months. And this is my happy place. I came here. There's always things to do. I love being surrounded by the art. I have to tell you, I've had people walk up and down Main Street and say to me, we were on the other side of the street, but there was an energy coming out of that building that actually drew us in. And people that have worked for me over the years say it's a great place to be. Just walking into this gallery, into this building, there's an energy that's uplifting, that's positive, and it translates into the success of the business.
I think we're all getting jealous of you because you work doing something, and we say work in quotes, that you love and always wanted to do. You do it in a Norman Rockwell-like town, and you get to go out to have lunch and talk to your clients and enjoy it without having to be forceful, knowing that if you were a salesman of some businesses that you had a quota by Friday to meet, or you had to get this done by 4:00. It looks like you have the best of all worlds. So I think we all want to apply for a job. You'll be getting a lot of job applications after this show. Now, James,
I'll be honest with you. One thing I would love and I suspect might come out of this is I'm encouraging anyone that is creative, interested in fine arts to speak to me. I had a client. I just sold a painting to a client from Michigan, and his son is in the art program in Michigan. And the father told me I was struggling letting him get into that program. And the first thing I said is, have him give me a call, because I love to speak to young people who are interested in art. And I tell them what the ups and downs. And there are ups and downs to this business like any other business. But at the end of the day, doing what you love overrides any of the downs. That's for sure.
It really does. And I think that I'm glad you can offer some opportunities to our listeners and to people of Long Island, and maybe even a little direction, because I sense that you're one of those people enjoys being a mentor or a helper as a good teacher would. But it's not enough that you're running this gallery. You're also the chairman of Gift of Life Long Island and the secretary of Gift of Life International. So let's back up a little bit and tell us, what is Gift of Life? Well,
Gift of Life was started 46 years ago, and it was started because of statistics. Every year in the world, 1.2 million kids are born with some form of congenital heart disease. 93% of those kids are born in a country that can do absolutely nothing about it. So Gift of Life's mission is to help as many of these children in emerging countries with congenital heart disease. If you're born in a country, let's say, like I've traveled, just to give you some ideas where I go. I've been to El Salvador, I've been to Honduras, I've been to Haiti. If you're born in Honduras with a congenital heart disease, a defect of your heart, your chances of survival past the teenage years are very slim. So what we do is we operate in 84 countries. We have 80 affiliate programs that we monitor around the world, and we provide surgeries and procedures to these children.
That's truly amazing. I'm just going to repeat. Did you say 93%? Just say that statement again.
1.2 million kids are born in the world every year with some form of congenital heart disease, and 93% of those are born in a country that can do absolutely nothing about it.
So I'm going to do some quick math, and this really is quick. Out of 1.2 million, over 1 million, that's over 90%, probably closer to 1.1 million is the right number. Those kids can't do anything about it in the country they're in, and yet we have the abilities here in the United States and the more advanced countries to help out or do something.
Correct. And what we do is we actually have streamlined our operation where we send teams of doctors to these countries. The doctors all volunteer, the nurses all volunteer. We volunteer, we raise money, we send the teams overseas to do these surgeries. And before COVID, we were doing approximately 3,200 surgeries a year, which doesn't make a dent in the number of kids that are affected. However, that's 3,200, 3,300 kids every year that would absolutely have no chance of survival. And every year that number increases. So we're very optimistic that we're changing the face of the earth. And
you should really and truly, and I don't mean this just to be patronizing, but to be able to do that, the doctors do wonderful work, the nurses, the medical people, but obviously they need someone to be out there shaking the tree, raising the money, doing things, and making people aware of it as you are now. This is truly wonderful work. So here, you're touching some part of that 1.2 million population that needs help out there.
That's correct. And you know, a significant story was we were in San Pedro Sul in Honduras last October, and we met the cardiologist there who is capable of identifying issues that these children had. But when we asked him, and what can you do about it, he shrugged his shoulders like, we can't do anything about it. So that's sort of on my focus right now is Honduras, and in particular that city. Once COVID is lifted, we're hopefully going to begin missions in that town and help these children, as many as we can.
Now, while you're talking about that, tell our audience, I'm going to ask you this again before the end of the show. If someone hears this and says, you know, you're a great guy, I would love to help, or in some small way feel I'm a part of this, how could they either help you out through work or finances?
They can go to giftoflifelongisland.org. giftoflifelongisland.org. They'll learn about our specific program. They can donate there. They can get in touch with me through that website, or they can always get in touch with me at the gallery, of course. And there's ways to be involved. I had a client, great story. I spoke at a Rotary Club last January, and I did a presentation about my trip to Honduras. And at that time, one of the Rotarians, as I was leaving, wrote me a check for $10,000 to Gift of Life Long Island and said, do me one favor. Next time you go back to Central America, I want to take my 15-year-old son. I want him to experience that with myself and you. So it's amazing. So people can get involved by donating, by helping to raise funds, and even actually going on missions. I think that when you're on a mission and you're in heart surgery, which I've been in dozens of heart surgeries, it's remarkable, because one thing about being the director of the program is we have complete access to the surgery. So I've stood next to surgeons opening up the chest of, I think it was a 4-month-old, and seeing this little heartbeat and stitching up a hole or a breach that was in the heart. I mean, it's amazing what I've seen and what I see these people do, because just keep this in mind, like a doctor, the head of cardiology in El Salvador makes $900 a month, and he will perform close to 20 procedures a month, and he makes so when these are people that, and they don't want to leave. They have an opportunity to leave the country, make a lot of money doing what they're doing elsewhere, but they stay because they see the need and they want to help their people. So again, back to purpose. I have an awesome business. I love what I do, but it means nothing if I can't help and affect the lives of people around the world, which is what you find most people who are involved in Gift of Life. That's the same motivation.
James, once again, we'd like our audience to know that if you're just tuning in, you're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan, but our guest today is James LaMantia. He is the chairman of the Gift of Life Long Island and the secretary for Gift of Life International. And if you haven't been listening, this group does wonderful, wonderful work. He's a man who enjoys what he does, but a few dollars of our money can go a long way to in some of these countries. And just to think, we often ask ourselves, what is my purpose? Why am I on earth here? A $5, $10, $50, $100 donation, whatever might be small to you, could literally save a life or several lives in another country. Am I correct, James?
That's correct. Actually, when we do from simple PDAs to actual open heart surgeries, depending on the country we do these procedures in, the procedures can run anywhere from $1,500 up to $2,800. If you can imagine what we spend $1,500 on, I used to joke years ago, if you take your family to Yankee Stadium for a day and watch
That's not a joke anymore. That's not a joke.
It's close to that, and we're saving lives with that money. So it's an amazing group, and as a result of all the work that I've done with them for 14 years, I'm actually writing a book which is going to be contributed by the first child who was saved by Gift of Life to all of my current board members. Each one is writing a chapter on how Gift of Life has affected them and their experiences with it. The title of the book is very clever, and it's called "I'm a Fine Art Dealer That Does Heart Surgery on the Side." And
I like that.
Right? The concept is, when you look at, we want people to know it doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to be a pediatric cardiologist to be involved. So each chapter will start out with our founder is, I am a garbage man that does heart surgery on the side. We have a meat distributor that does heart surgery on the side. We have a financial analyst that does heart surgery on the side. Anybody can be involved in this program and help children.
Wow. And on behalf of the WHPC audience, I just want to say thank you. It sounds like you're a guy who really enjoys what you're doing, but to be out there, to reaching out, to take this extra time when you could be probably golfing, fishing, or just enjoying town and enjoying what you do. You and all the doctors who take part of it, there are people out there like myself who really appreciate it. And I'm sure those kids, be interesting to see someone who had the surgery 20 years later. They're probably teaching a class, or maybe they themselves are doctors or attorneys or firemen or sanitation men.
100%. Grace Agora, who had her surgery 46 years ago, I believe she was 5 when she had her surgery, from Uganda, the first child that started this program, will speak every year at the United Nations to tell the world about Gift of Life. And we've gotten, our goal, especially with this book, is to get more people behind it, more countries, more businesses actually who will support and make generous donations to keep this going. But yeah, I mean, even if you look up the story of Brett Halverson, who was a young boy from Korea, in the 1990s, Nancy and Ronald Reagan flew Air Force One to Korea to pick up Brett Halverson and his brother to bring him back to the United States for the surgery. And when you go to the Reagan Library, you're greeted by the photo of Brett and Nancy Reagan, and it's an amazing story. So yeah, it's Brett will be also contributing to the book. He's going to have a nice chapter.
I love that title, and we definitely want to be part of that. So you better get a copy of that to WHPC, to our station director. So that's a book I want to read. Now,
sure.
Let me ask you, James, how has the pandemic, that must have affected donations, collections, it affected society in so many ways. How has it affected your operation with Gift of Life?
Well, it's affected fundraisers. I mean, we had a big spring gala, our annual gala for Gift of Life Long Island. That got postponed to the fall and now got postponed to next year. Thankfully, with the different Rotary clubs in Suffolk County and Nassau County, we've been getting regular donations coming in because they see the need. Everybody's fundraising efforts are down, so that's a challenge. However, Gift of Life International, we've been very clever, and we managed to raise a good amount of money in July and August for the program. And where we were doing 300 surgeries a month, we were still able to do just about 30 surgeries, a little over 30 surgeries a month. So it's affected everything. We are ready to rock and roll once we get the green light that it's safe to have our doctors and nurses travel again. We're prepared to send them out and get back up to that 300 procedures a month as soon as we're able to.
And as you mentioned before, if we want to meet you, we just have to go to your gallery in Northport, which is at 127 Main Street. So if you want to go out there, you can meet James. You can have a good day at the gallery, and you can find out how you can take part in Gift of Life. What a great feeling to do this. I also want to give a shout out to a friend of yours, a Long Island attorney, Enza Brandy, who introduced you to us here on WHPC. And I'm going to challenge her to make a nice gift, and I'll join her if she does. So if she makes a donation to you, I will join her in that donation and make my own donation. So coming on the show today, you got a couple more donations to Gift of Life. How's that?
That's much, much, much appreciated. Thank you.
Please give our audience a quick wrap up. How can we help you out? Give us the website where we can get in touch.
Sure. Two ways: giftoflifelongisland.org to get involved in the charity work. giftoflifelongisland.org. You can also go to LaMantiaGallery.com. LaMantia, LaMantia, gallery.com to visit that website. You'll check out the artists that we have. And like you said, it's a very, one important part of my gallery experience is our gallery is a very warm and welcoming gallery. I grew up around what I would consider sort of velvet rope, snobby galleries in Manhattan, and I never wanted that to be my model. So people that have walked in, I've had people stare in the window, come in, have an awesome experience, and on their way out say, you know what, we were hesitant to come in. My wife told us we had to come in, and I'm glad we did because you guys were warm and welcoming, and we appreciate that. So I encourage kids to come in. I encourage parents to bring their kids. It's just a nice, comfortable gallery to be a part of, and you're going to disappear for an hour or two when you visit. That's for sure.
James, we want our audience to know that we've been speaking with James LaMantia, the chairman of the Gift of Life Long Island and secretary of Gift of Life International, as well as the owner and founder of the LaMantia Gallery in Northport. James, good luck to you and your organization, and thanks for a wonderful show.
My pleasure. I appreciate the interview.
I'm Bill Horan, reminding you that you've been listening to My Hometown. Please join us again next week.
We'd like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to WHPC@ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.